everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure as always. Producer Katie is off this week. Apparently something to do with taking over for Taylor Swift. Apparently after her Kansas City dates, Taylor couldn't cut it anymore. So Tay-Tay is out. Producer Katie is in. She will be on tour later this fall. Right now they're getting all the choreography and everything all set up. So, good luck to producer Katie or whatever it is she's doing. But she's off this week, so you're stuck with me. I hope you're frightened. I'm sure my voice sounds a little fatigued, a little tired, little giving out a little bit. That's because I am back. I've been back in the house now for maybe 35 minutes before recording from my very first triathlon. I know you're really surprised because we haven't talked about this before and you had no knowledge that this episode was coming. But yes, the triathlon is now over. The Shawnee Mission Triathlon was just this morning, just a few hours ago, where I was up at 4 a.m. to get my jolly happy butt awake and off to the race. I had my bike loaded up. I had my bag with all my stuff. I had my swim cap. And I had the little Velcro ankle bracelet thing. That's also my chip. And I was ready to go and do my very first triathlon. So let's talk about this. First off, and I say this with all due respect, because I've never once said here on this podcast and said a bad word about triathletes ever, because I'm not going to. Triathletes, now that I've done this, I can say this because I have done your sport. Y'all are a special kind of stupid, aren't you? Holy cow. This was a completely new world for me. And again, I say with all due respect, and I do say this out of love, you guys are badass. I'm just going to let you know. Like, this was difficult. This was a struggle. These are my dogs running behind me who just came in the house and are now running up the stairs. Okay, that was interesting. But no, you guys are amazing. So you know what? A huge shout out to anyone who has taken the sport of a triathlon, embraced it, kind of made it their own, and are out doing this. You guys are kind of next level. No, I'm not taking away from my look at this. I'm getting winded just talking because clearly I'm not recovered from this morning's nonsense just yet. But yeah, running folks, like I love y'all, and I mean I think we are our own kind of badass. Again, running full marathons is no joke. But yeah, these triathletes, boy, there's something not firing right in their heads. They're just a little cuckoo. But with all respect. So anyway, I get out there, crack of dawn, it's pitch black. I am unloading my car, I'm getting my stuff together, and I am making what feels like the death march from my car all the way down to the transition area. That's another thing about triathletes. Like runners, you guys have your own language, and I don't speak it fluently. But yeah, so I have my stuff, and I make it down to the transition area. So I get my bike hung up on the little metal rack. I'm getting my stuff set out. It was great. I should have taken a picture of it. It looked good. So I took my towel. I laid my towel out on the ground. And at the top of the towel, I put the shirt that I'm currently wearing, Back of the Pack podcast shirt, repping the show out there at the triathlon. But I wore this for the running part. So I had my Back of the Pack shirt folded up nicely. I had my bib attached to it, and it's sitting on the top of my towel. Then underneath of that, I had my Team Fidelis cycling jersey because I wore that for the bicycle part. And I was all folded up, looked really nice. That was in the middle of my towel. Then underneath that, I had like the shoes that I wore down there. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret about me. And this might surprise some of you. And most of the people, it will not. And a lot of people are going to laugh at me. But I wore my Crocs because I love Crocs. Crocs are my shoe. Those are my jam. So I had my Crocs sitting at the end there so that, I had the shoes that I wore down there. Then I had my running shoes sitting there with my pair of socks tucked into it for after the swim. And man, I'm all organized. I got the bike there, and I got a water, and then I got a different kind of hydration drink. What was that thing called? I think it was called like Body Armor, the hydration drink, cherry limeade. You don't sponsor the show even a little bit or completely unfamiliar with who I am, but I just gave your product a shout out. Let's talk. Anyway, it was fine. Good little hydration drink to start with. I had it all laid out. So there I am. I'm ready. I grabbed my where. Yeah, this is fun. Anyone who's seen me in person knows what a joke this was. I have my swim cap. Look at your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the swim cap. I had that. Didn't put that thing on until darn near the start of the race. Do you want to know why? Because I have a big head, and this is a small little swim cap. Oddly enough, though, I was able to stretch it out enough and make it fit. So I had my swim cap and I had my swim trunks on, because I didn't wear like a triathlon suit. I'm not that fancy. And I was ready to go. So you get the national anthem, you get the Olympic distance all lined up and ready to go, and boom, off we go. Now, I will say, it was interesting. They have an abundance of kind of races in this race. So they had Olympic distance, so that's basically a race of its own. They had a triathlon long, which is another race of its own. They had the sprint triathlon or the short triathlon, which is what I did. Then they had the super sprint triathlon, which is even shorter than what I did. And then they had a duathlon, which is run, bike, run. They just leave out the swimming nonsense. And honestly, I think that's the way to go. So there's a lot of different stuff going on. So you send out the Olympics first. They have to swim the farthest distance. They have to ride the most laps, and they have to run the longest. So they start. And there they go. And I don't know if this is a normal thing, because again, this is my very first one. But then we sat and we waited. And we waited and we waited and we waited. Apparently, they were not willing to start the next wave of runners, which would be the triathlon long, until all the sprinters, not all the sprinters, all the Olympic distance people were out of the water. They had to swim the farthest. So there was this huge, long lull of nothing doing, no action, no activity. And we're all just kind of hanging out next to the water because they closed the transition area. You can't be in there while the transition area was closed. So the transition area is closed. We're all down by the water, and everyone is just kind of standing around. Now, we did luck out this morning. This morning, we were super lucky. It was darn near chilly. For July, it was definitely chilly. I think it was about 61 degrees Fahrenheit when I got there. So that's a pretty cool morning for July in Kansas. So everyone was actually kind of hanging out in the water and not on land because the water was actually warmer. I think they said water temperature was close to 81. Although when I got in the water, it certainly did not feel like 81. It felt cooler than that, but still wasn't bad. So then finally they get the next one going. The long triathlon group, fire the cannon. They're off and running. Away they go. And so we wait again. This time we don't wait as long because they don't swim as far. So we leave our swim area and leave the area we're at. And we actually had to swim over to where the swimmers start. How many times can I use swim in a sentence? We're going to find out, apparently. So we actually leave the little beach by the dock that we're in, and we have to swim over to the start. It was at that moment I knew I was in a world of trouble. Because by the time I did the little nothing swim over to the other side, I was already gassed. Like, okay, wow, I clearly have not swam in years and years and years and years and years. And I clearly have never swam for any kind of a time. I've swam for fun. Or, dive after the football when you're playing catch in the pool with either your kids or your friends or something. That is the level of swimming. Now, trust me, when I signed up for this triathlon, I had all the good intentions in the world. I was going to swim and I was going to train and I was going to, really work on it and be ready to go for the triathlon. And then I blinked and the day was here. No training. Also, side note, my neighborhood pool has been closed more than it has been open this particular summer season because some jackwagon teenagers keep breaking glass and throwing it into the pool. Yeah, I live in a very nice neighborhood full of dumb kids. Super great. So I couldn't even practice in my neighborhood pool. That's an excuse, though, neither here nor there. So I knew I was in a world of trouble. Well, they call us up. We get onto the beach. We're lined up. I am true to my name. I was at the very back of my wave. I was the last person to enter the water. However, to my credit, I was not the last person from my group to exit the water. I know there are at least two guys still behind me. I think one guy was 193 years old, and I just barely eked him out. The other guy, I don't know what his story was, but yeah, I beat out Father Time, who just wasn't quite as fast as I was. I'm sorry, I was awful. I was absolutely terrible at the swim. I'm just going to call it what it is. It was a joke. Honestly, if they wanted to take my medal away because of how bad I was in the swim, I wouldn't even argue it. I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I was so bad, so terrible. So anyway, I finally survived the swim, and here's another thing. I'm going to come down on some people here. I won't name names, but you know who you are. All right, look at this. I'm pointing at you on the YouTube channel here, pointing at you. You know who you are. The people I've talked to about this race, when I was the idiot who sat there and said, the swim is just 500 meters, no big deal. And there were a lot of bobbleheads like, oh, yeah, no big deal. Yeah, sure. Yeah, what do you say? Okay, you all probably knew different. You knew better. Why didn't anyone correct me? Why didn't anyone say, hey, dummy, 500 meters is still 500 meters, and it's a lot longer than you think, dum-dum? Because you would have been right to say that. You also would have been right to call me a dum-dum, and nobody did. So you know what? This was all your fault. I'm blaming all of you. So I did the swim. Ungodly terrible. You know what? Hey, hold on. Here, look at this. This is real world stuff right here. There is an app. There's an app that's supposed to have all the information. Let me find it. All right, here it is. So 500 meters. That was my swim. Let's go ahead and see how long it took me, because it's going to be real bad. Let me see if I can work this app. Come on. Where's it? Where's the people? No events. No. Oh, come on. I know I signed up to get my own results. Pshaw. Recent event. All right. Well, you know what? You know what? You dumb thing. Look at this. See, this is the problem with live whatever. There we go. Here we go. All right. China Mission Triathlon. Here we go. Okay. Nope. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Participants, me. All right. So my swim of 500 meters. Anyone want to take a guess? Ooh, yeah, that's real bad. Yeah, that's real bad. 18:17. So I did the 500-meter swim in 18 minutes and 17 seconds. That's not great. That's not great, Clark. That's real bad right there. So anyway, so that was that. Terrible. Sorry, now I'm looking at my time. Sorry, I could get lost in numbers because that's what I do. So anyway, finished the swim. Out of the water I went. I took a nice leisurely stroll back into the transition area. I love the people who got out of the water and went sprinting past me up the hill to get back to transition and get on their bikes and get going. I was just trying to breathe. Yeah, breathing was not going well for me at this point. I'm sorry, but like I can run a 5K. And yes, having two mildly decent 5Ks here in a row, that does not translate over to having even a remotely good triathlon. It just doesn't. So that meant nothing. I could not breathe after that swim. It just using different muscles, using different, I don't know, can you use different lungs? Is one lung used for running and the other lung is just used for triathlons? I don't know. Either which way, they weren't both doing what they're supposed to do. So I get to the transition area, I transition, I get onto the bike and I get moving on the bike. I get on my bike jersey, I put on my cute little helmet. Look, I grew up in the 80s. We didn't wear helmets, so this bike helmet stuff is new to me, but whatever, safety first. So I have my little cute little helmet on, and I've got my little jersey on, and zoom, I pedal away. Now, you might think to yourself, well, Kyle, I know, swimming, you didn't practice and you didn't train. That's your fault, but any idiot can get out on his bike and log some miles. So I'm sure you trained correctly on your bike and got a handful of rides in before the triathlon. You remember how I said that I signed up for the race and then I blinked and it was here? And if I didn't say it before, I'm saying it now. So my bike training consisted of bike training session, one ride. I went out one time and I think I did a little over 4 miles that were a lot flatter than Shawnee Mission Park. So while you might think that I trained for the bike, if you saw me today, you would think that that idiot has never ridden a bike before, and you're closer to right than you are to wrong. This has been a while, and my one little 4 mile experience didn't help much. So that was great. So what people will tell you is one of the harder, more difficult triathlons around town. Here's dumb old me on a bike I borrowed from a friend and I rode once, now trying to do it under race circumstances on a difficult course. Super fun times. So for me, it was 2 laps around Shawnee Mission Park. That's a little over 9 miles. I did it. I'm not going to look up my time this time because you had to sit and watch me fiddle with my phone already. I won't do it to you a second time. So I finished the biking part. By that point, my legs were done. And I'm thinking to myself, well, at least I'm to the run now. I know running, right? I can run. Yay. I maybe got 200 yards and like, oh, my legs don't work anymore. They don't feel right. Something's not good here. So my run was terrible. I think my average pace was somewhere around 12 minutes per mile for a 5K after doing all that other nonsense. Not great, pretty terrible. But thankfully, the run felt familiar. Like that's what I knew the best. That's Yeah, that part didn't scare me. I didn't like my time, but we've all had bad races before. We've all had bad 5Ks. So I just kind of, my mind went to that. It's like, we're having a bad race. Well, we're having a bad race because I just swam and wasn't ready for it. I just biked and wasn't ready for it. And now I'm going to do this. And hey, still not ready for much of anything. But anyway, so I'll stop boring you with the gory details. What I can say is I finished the race. The crowd support there is great. Everyone is super nice, super supportive. Volunteers are great. This is a well-run event. So even though my personal experience was nothing but my fault and wasn't awesome, that's no reflection on the race. They do a great job. Everyone stayed safe. They had a lot of medical personnel, just a lot of people around, a lot of volunteers, a lot of people trying to help. They did it right. And to the point where I had been finished for a long time, a lot of people had been finished. But because there was still a biker on the course, transition area was not open for people to leave. So, they're not letting people just kind of trickle out and walk across the road, get in the way. Nope. Everyone's got to be done with the bike before they open it up for everyone to leave. Now, then there was a mass exodus, and that was impressive. And we all had to begin the, 3, 4, 5, 6 mile hike back to our cars. Boy, that was a long way. But they opened it up. We got to the cars, and I got gone. And so here I am. As I sit here right now, I am happy to say that I will retire from triathlons. I can't even say undefeated. I will retire at one. You know what? This is going to be my personal record, and it will never fall because I don't think I'm ever going to do one of these again. I thought I was going to go out there and I could have seen myself getting hooked and be like, ooh, this is really great. This is super awesome. I want to do more of these. I'm totally in. And again, my own fault, but because I did so poorly and because it was so difficult, dear God, let me go run Hospital Hill, please. Can I run Hospital Hill on an 85-degree day, which, takes me, what did I do this year in 2:45? Please let me do that as opposed to the less than 2 hours I just spent doing this triathlon. I think I'm good. I think I'm good. The only way I can see me doing another triathlon is either I get super serious about the training and I just get the bug and want to do it again, or I get super serious about training and I just want to do better at this event next year than I did this year. Redemption. The only way I can see me doing another one is if I want to go back to that course for some redemption. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not really going to wager a guess either way. I mean, hell, I'm still sitting here in the same clothes I ran the 5K in. I'm super gross. I need a shower. But I couldn't wait to talk to you all because, I wanted to tell you all about this, right? So anyway, so that was it. Again, good event. They do a great job. I suck. And it was great, though. I saw a ton of people out there. Let's say I saw Carrie. I saw Lay. I saw Ben and Mark, Brian, Steve, Joe. I think I was out there. I was physically out there. Mentally, clearly, I was somewhere else because I sucked. But yeah, so it was great to see a lot of people out there. I can say I've done a sprint triathlon. Never going to sit there and say I've done a triathlon. And I'm certainly not going to say, oh, I did kind of an Ironman thing. No, those people are nuts. That stuff's just insane. And I had notions earlier that, hey, you know what? Maybe someday, and then I could get that cool Ironman tattoo that all the Ironman runners get. You know, they have that half Ironman, which is a 1.1 mile swim. I think what a 50-mile bike and a half marathon. Maybe someday. Nope, that's done. That ain't happening. So, like I said a little bit earlier, it is funny to me how triathletes are very different from runners. They have their own language. They even run different. Like the body shapes are different. Like if you look at some of these really serious triathletes, they don't look like the super serious runners. The body types are different. The way they run is different. It was really weird to me. Now, this course did not allow headphones. They said if they saw headphones, they'll yank you. And you know what? I kind of believed them on this. I know a lot of the races out there say, hey, we encourage no headphones or headphones are outlawed. We all do it anyway. Nobody did it at this. So I kind of believed it when it said no headphones. So I could hear everything, which means I could hear the other runners and just their footfalls and the way they strike their feet on their running part. So different than like at 5Ks or 10Ks or whatever. Their steps are so heavy. I don't know if they're wearing different kind of shoes, if there's like triathlete shoes instead of just regular running shoes, but the steps were different. Their breathing is different. Just the swinging of their arms is different. I felt like a total fish out of water at points on the 5K because I'm getting passed by all these really serious triathletes, the people who did the longer distances, and it's since caught up with me doing the shorter distance. But yeah, there was just a lot of difference between like your standard 5K and then this triathlon. So I thought that was interesting. Just the way they conduct themselves is different. The whole specter of the event is different. The language is different. So I looked it up and I thought this was really funny. So I found this article and there's going to be two sides of this, which I found humorous. Here are 7 reasons a triathlon is better than running. Now, don't worry, runners, because I are one. I also have 7 reasons why running is better than a triathlon. So I'm going to give you both. You decide. This is just something kind of fun after my miserable, horrible, no good, very bad experience today doing a triathlon. So 7 reasons triathlon is better than running. Fewer injuries. How many triathletes do you know who were originally runners, then started the sport because they had to cross-train because of an injury? And this writer says present company included. Because you're participating in 2 non-weight-bearing sports, swimming and biking, your body gets a break from the constant pounding of running. The other upside is that if you do get injured, there's still likely at least 1 and probably 2 of the sports you can still take part in. All right, so there you go. Point to the triathletes. Number 2, more variety. This is the one I've probably heard the most. Rather than do the same activity 6 or more times a week, when you're a triathlete, you get to mix things up. A third of your workouts are swimming, a third of your workouts are on a bike, and a third of your workouts are running. Throw in some strength training, yoga, mountain biking, cross-country skiing, all of which are useful additions to your triathlon training program, and you're going to have to work hard to get bored of your training routine. Number 3, more toys. If you think that you can amass lots of running gear, wait until you get started with cycling and swimming. The toys, I mean training tools, are endless. Bikes, pedals, wheels, power meters, computers, trainers, multi-sport watches, wetsuit, pull buoys, fins, kickboards, custom swim goggles. Okay, you get the picture. There's lots of fun gear in the world of triathlon. Number 4, you can train way longer. Sure, we all know people who head out for an easy 3 to 5 hour run. The last time us mortals tried that, though, we were hobbled for a week. A 3-hour bike, piece of cake once you work your way up to it. If you love to train and to be active, a 2 workout a day triathlon routine will leave you with an almost constant smile. It's a smile. Number 5, races are in beautiful spots. Think about this. The Ironman World Championship is always in Hawaii. Triathlon events happen in warm, beautiful climates. Okay, except for the Norseman Extreme. But as hard as that race is, it's still in the spectacular fjords and mountains of Norway. There's a reason triathletes refer to a lot of their races as racecations. Okay. Oh, this one might get a few of you going here. Hold on. Coffee break because I didn't get my coffee this morning. It tastes like cheap Walmart coffee. But, I could drink better coffee if that Patreon page got a little more love. Anyway, number 6, triathletes are more interesting. Ooh. Remember the last running party you went to and you spent the entire night hearing about everyone's splits from the 30 to 37 kilometer point of their last marathon? Boring, right? Triathletes, though, get to recount not only their times during the swim, bike, and run portion of the races, but can also regale you with blow-by-blow accounts of their time in transition. And then 7, ultimate bragging rights. When we're finally able to hit the office on Monday mornings again, being able to tell everyone that you did a triathlon on the weekend will immediately trump pretty much any activity they took part in. If your race was an Ironman, well, that puts you in a completely different realm. Everyone will ask you if it was the one in Hawaii. Just keep telling them you did an Ironman or phrase it as the Ironman, and you'll be all Dios in there. Okay, you'll be a Dios in their eyes forever. Okay, well, so that is 7 reasons why a triathlon is better than running. Well, now let's go over here. Now we have 7 reasons why running is better than being in a triathlon. Where we go? Here we go. All right, number 1, we have so much time on our hands. Triathletes spend so much time training, like way too long. Runners, we get our run in for the day, do some strength work, and get to chill out. Relaxing is fun, but it's something triathletes rarely get to do. They finish their swim, hop on their bike, ride for 4 hours, and then close out the day with a run. Honestly, triathletes must have so little free time, it's a miracle to get anything else done in their lives. And let's see, next one. Our sprints are actually sprints. In running, a sprint actually means athletes are sprinting. We're talking 100 meters, 200-meter races that are done in 10 to 20 seconds. In a triathlon, a sprint takes even fastest athletes close to an hour. What's with that? Triathlon sprinters, in air quotes, swim 750 meters, bike a 20K, and run a 5K. Next one. Triathlon is expensive. If you want, you can certainly spend a lot of money on running gear, but you don't have to. As long as you have a good pair of shoes, you're set. In a triathlon, though, you need a wetsuit, a tri-suit, a bike, a helmet, bike shoes, running shoes, and so much more. Next one. The marathon is hard enough. Running 42.2 kilometers, 26.2 miles to us here in the States, is no joke. And it's a challenge that can defeat even the best of athletes. So we have to ask, why on earth would you make that harder by swimming 3.8 kilometers, biking 180 kilometers before hitting the marathon course? It just sounds so painful. Next one, no early morning swim practices. As runners, we sometimes have to get up for an early runs, but that doesn't compare to morning swim lessons. Swimmers arrive at the pool when it's dark outside and the sun still hasn't risen when they leave. At least we get to see the sunrise when we run in the morning. I kind of like that. All right, this one, arrow this, arrow that. Aerodynamics are, of course, important in any race, but runners don't obsess about it like triathletes do. Some of us shave our legs, but if we don't, it's not the end of the world. We might wear half tights or split shorts, but either works. If you don't shave your legs as a triathlete, or if you show up to a race in anything other than skin-tight spandex, you'll hear about it from your fellow racers. There's a lot of skin-tight spandex this morning, not gonna lie. And then the last one, and this one's funny. Running came first. This is no chicken or egg situation. We know what came first, running. Without running, triathlon wouldn't exist. If triathlon had never been invented, though, running would be fine. So there we go. Now, to be fair, this is done pretty much by a triathlon website up in Canada. So if you think, well, it still sounded a little one-sided or a little more biased towards the triathlon, again, yes, it was. That's where the writers are. However, just take this as the good-natured little ha-ha in which it was intended. So anyway, I think that's all I really got on today's triathlon. I'm sure that more will come to me. I'm still processing, still digesting. I wanted to get this out so that I can enjoy the rest of my Sunday. Not that I don't enjoy talking to you all, because I very much do. But I would like to take a shower and maybe take a nap. And at least now we can get this out into the world so that you all may hear about my glorious triathlon experience. And when I say glorious, miserable, it was awful. I was terrible. I was terrible. I am sure I would have enjoyed that a lot more if I had prepared better and I had performed better at the race. So again, not hating on the race, not hating on triathlons. This was my fault, and my lack of enjoyment came from my lack of preparation and my lack of training. Again, I make the mistakes so you don't have to. We just talked about that now, didn't we? So anyway, all right, here we go. So the last one, you guys get a little preview of Metal Monday. Actually, we'll see what comes first, the episode or Metal Monday. But see, look, there's the bling right there if you're on YouTube. Try not to get the light on. There we go, bling, bling. So that is the medal from today's triathlon. There you go. You can see it happened. It really, really is a thing. I did it. Yay, go team. Woo. So anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure as always. This show is produced by Katie O'Neill and is brought to you by OKKC Sports. Next week's episode, I will actually be out of town, but we have an interview coming up that we're going to record beforehand. It's going to come out next week. You don't want to miss it. We've got a returning guest coming onto the show. He was insanely popular the first time around. Only going to be better this time because it is our buddy Dave from the KC Sports Commission. He is coming back to the episode. And so, assuming nothing happens schedule-wise with anyone, he will be next week's episode. And we all love Dave. You can tell that this dude has done radio and podcasts. Like, he's great. He knows running. He knows Kansas City. Like, don't miss it. You don't want to. And go back and listen to last year's because, man, he makes this show sound good. And thank God somebody does because it ain't me. Anyway, all right, everyone, have a great week of training. Get out there, get your runs in. I think the sunglasses run is next weekend. That's kind of the only one I know about. Again, missing that because I'm out of town. It is my annual boys trip down to Oklahoma with some buddies of mine. So that is lake, dock, beer, sit on my butt. That is my little vacation. So that is where I will be. But you guys get to listen to the episode with Dave, which is probably going to be better than what I was doing. So anyway, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.